Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Crafty Little Rat podcast. My name is Hannah, also known as Crafty Little Rat on Ravelry and Instagram. And you can email me at craftylittlerat@outlook.com. And today's blog, craftylittlerat.blogspot.com or .co.uk. I can never remember which one it is. Great podcast start, really, to be honest. Today is the 2nd of May 2016, which I know, how quickly has that gone? New location as well. Well, not a new location, but last time you saw me, I was over there by the window. I used to have my desk up against the window so that the light came through and is straight on, and I've turned around. So yesterday, which was Sunday, because it's a long bank holiday weekend here in the UK, for those of you who aren't aware, and those of you who don't work retail or food service or anything where a long weekend doesn't really matter to you guys. Been there, done that. I had a huge sort out in here. So now there is actual floor space. There is, everything has a place. I've got, just behind me there, I've got an IKEA chair where I can sit and I can knit or spin. The bed is, we've got a folding sofa bed thing that lives in here. That's got tons of room. You're not butting up against anything in there now. I've got, I moved up just behind me that way. That's my, I used to have that downstairs with books on it. I now have a proper bookcase downstairs, or I will do when it's assembled. Watch this space. So that now houses my yarn, and some of it's in those boxes that are just up here. So one of those has Canada yarn in it, the other one has hand spun, the other one is empty as of now. But we'll probably have my Wonderwool stash in it, because Wonderwool was last weekend, which is a big wool show. It's the Welsh wool show. The premier wool show in Wales, they say. I don't know if there's another one in Wales to compare with, but it's always this time of year. I think this was the 10th year, or possibly I don't know. I thought last year was the 10th year, but anyway. And it's always fantastic. This was my 5th year going. I go with some friends from Cheltenham, and we stay in a caravan just near the campsite. Stay in a caravan site just near, it's about 10 minutes out from the showground, so that's really nice as well. I get spoiled for the entire weekend by wonderful food and wonderful company, and it's just, I love it. I would be really sad if there was a year where I couldn't go. So we've got stash acquisition from there. We have quite a bit of stash acquisition to get through today. So I suppose I'd better sort of get a bit of a shufty on, really, hadn't I? So you're still working on that is my first category, which is all of my works in progress. And there's quite a few this week, actually. Seem to have come back from Wonderwool with the crochet bug. I don't quite know why. Ball of yarn's on the floor, but never mind. So this is a stash buster. And I had to show you the wrong side first, of which I have not weaved in any ends. This is a stash buster blanket. It is the Star Blanket by Bernat, and I followed Mikey from the Crochet Crowd's video tutorial. Don't think I even looked at the pattern, but the pattern's listed in Ravelry. So yeah, it's a 5-point star, and I'm doing it in rainbow colours because they don't know the sex of the baby. So rainbows are always pretty much helpful for that, because they're by definition sort of gender neutral, really, aren't they? And I love rainbows. So this is yarn I had left over from the Ravelympics event, in the winter Ravelympics event, when the Winter Olympics was held in Russia, because Russia, gay rights, rainbow, screw you, this effectively was the reasoning behind it. And I was going to do a blanket at that point, but I never got round to it, or I started it and then lost interest somewhere along the lines. I think I started another couple of things in this, but lost interest. So anyway, I've got 2 balls of each of the colour, so I'm getting up to the stage of where I think that this round here, this blue, I think to do 4 crocheted rounds in the blue is definitely going to use all of the blue I've got, so I might need to order some more yarn for the remaining colours. But the yarn is Drops Paris, which is their Aran weight 100% cotton, and I'm using a 4mm hook, just a just a cheapy ordinary plain crochet hook for this. 4 sounds light for an Aran weight, but I find with cotton sort of tends to shift on itself, so this gives me a sort of a nice dense fabric. When I was doing the 4-ply baby blankets, I used 3 mil for those, and that again, that created I could probably have gone up to a 3.5 on this, but when I a 4.5, but when I tried a 5, it was just too loose. So the colours, the middle one is number 12, which is red, number 13, which is orange, 14, which is strong yellow, the 11 is opal, the green is opal green. It's showing up a bit blue actually on this screen, but it is, that's a bit better, it is green. And then the 10, this is the blue, which is dark turquoise. I also have strong blue and dark purple to go, and as well I have sort of a cream which I'm going to edge the blanket in. So I have seen some blankets where they actually do sort of a short row sort of thing between the points in order to sort of square it off, and I thought, oh, that looks quite interesting. So I suppose you'd sort of start somewhere maybe here, and you'd maybe do a single, a double, a treble, a single, a double, a treble, and then just sort of build a crossways, sort of like that in a short row. Might give that a go, maybe, in order to sort of square off the blanket, because I'm not entirely sure how useful, not entirely sure how useful a star shape is. We shall see. I'll probably just actually leave it as a star shape. Who knows? But that's that one. And I must be on a bit of a blanket kick, because this next one is the second blanket I've got on the go. And I also have a third one in the planning stages. Oh well, I bought yarn for the third one this week, which I'll show you. So I must be on a bit of a blanket kick. But this one you did see last week. It's the African flower blanket. So if I remind you, I'd done last week, I'd done the lobelia last time even. I'm so used to, I don't ever want to do a weekly podcast. I wouldn't have enough to tell you guys, but a lot of people do weekly podcasts. So this is the lobelia. I was trying hard to get the lighting right but not cover my face. This is the lobelia, which is colourway 1825. These are all Starcraft special DKs, which is 100% acrylic. And then what else had I done? I'd done the mustard last time I showed you. So that's those two. This time around, I'm missing a colour. That's the one I'm missing. I did this one, which is grass, colourway 1821. The purple, which is boysenberry, 1828. The tomato, which I showed you guys as an acquisition last week, which is tomato 1723. And then this one, which has to be, I think, my favourite of all of the colours. It's coming out a bit sort of acidy there, when it's not really. It's a lovely sort of a light, it's a bit better, lovely sort of a light pale green. That's pistachio, which is 1822. So I've got a big bag full of the squares now. So I'm using 50-gram balls of each colour, because that was what was in the special pack, the limited edition pack. Starcraft did a competition last year in order to pick new colours for the yarn. So they ended up shortlisting it down to 10 colours, and one was an overall winner, which was the duck egg blue. Then they decided, because they'd launched them all in a special pack, just 50-gram balls, but one of each, with duck egg blue being available as well as hundreds. and then they promptly sold out of all of the packs and decided to launch them as 100-gram balls, which is fantastic, really. I know I do knit with a lot of natural fibre, but I am very much in favour of the Stylecraft Special. It's 100% acrylic. The Life is also a very good choice, which has a little bit, it's 75-25, I think, the Life. With, you know, 75 acrylic, 25% wool, which just does give you a bit of a wool colour, but that's only available in a very sort of a small range of colours compared to the Special. Yeah, there's really not a huge amount in that's the Life Chunky. I'm just looking it up now. It's a special 4-ply, special iron, special with wool. They do so many different types, and you know your colours are going to be sort of consistent across the range. But Stylecraft special effects, I've also got. That's very nice. Hang on, maybe if I narrow it down by DK. Yeah, but the special DK comes in a huge variety of colours, of which I probably should have looked up first. 83 shades. So that's a brilliant sort of a thing for anything, baby blankets or baby clothes, adult clothes, anything. You can normally find pretty much whatever you'd like in there. The African flower blanket I'm basing roughly off the Heidi Bear's African flower hexagon pattern. I've made a lot of hair animals, so I know this pattern sort of off the top of my head by now. I'm using the duck egg blue in order to edge the flowers and in order to do the border around the outside as well. 5mm hook I'm using for those. So because that seems a bit weird when I'm using a 4 for the heavier weight cotton blanket, but this I wanted to have a bit more of a sort of a drape to the fabric, whereas this, which is going to be used by a baby, I wanted to have sort of a little bit of a sort of a stiffer sort of effect. And it's cotton, and I find cotton just shifts all over the place. Acrylic tends to stay more or less sort of where you put it. So that's those. So what else have I been working on? Actual knitting now. It is going to be a crochet heavy podcast, so my apologies, but this is knitting. This should be a quick one as well, because there isn't much to it. This is a shawl that I'm currently working on. I picked up the yarn to cast on when we went to Wonderwool, because I like working with something that I could buy at the show rather than the acrylic or the socks I've got, which I did work on, but mostly at the caravan. So this is the Lithuanian linen by Midwinter Yarns. It's a 100% linen yarn, and you do get quite a bit, 450 meters to 100 grams. So my cake has inwardly collapsed and died upon itself, as you can possibly tell. Not entirely sure whether drawing from the centre was a brilliant idea, but never mind. You live and you learn. So this lives mostly in the bag, and I hope and pray that I don't sort of tangle, because that happens. So the colourway is Claret, which is 915. I'm not using a pattern. I am sort of self-designing. It's going to be a top-down shawl. So I think I know already the edge pattern that I'm going to use. I've been stalking my Stitch Dictionary now that I found where my Stitch Dictionary actually was, buried in a box, of course. There's some stuff in here that I haven't found since we moved in, and that was like 3.5 years ago. There's some stuff that's still missing. I cannot find my Celestrium shawl for love nor money. It's got to be somewhere in the house. I know I haven't taken it out, but who knows where. Just have to make another one. So yeah, at the moment it's just a very simple top-down triangular shawl. So I'm increasing sort of at either end and in the middle. And I really should have used yarn overs, but I'm not. I'm using knit front and backs, which creates the sort of I do like the sort of the spine effect that does sort of create. So this is 3mm needles. And I know normally that you would use a larger needle, again, for a shawl, but given how sort of see-through that is, which is easier to see when I lift it away from my body, and light and airy, I wouldn't have wanted to have used a 4. I'd started swatching with a 4 and it was far too big. Sorry if I keep catching my mic. I've got a higher necked t-shirt on today than I normally do, so looking down I keep poking the top of the mic with my double chin. So this is in my Sheepies bag, which is by Nick's Knots, which I quite like, and it's got a little Iron Man that came in. Is it one of the Kinder Eggs, I think, at one point, and his head flicks open and you can battle him with somebody. I don't know. I quite liked the little Iron Man, but it was a cute little Kinder Egg toy. So that's the third thing I've got on the go at the moment, and that's the thing that's at the moment that's coming out and about with me. It might not be for much longer. I should really cast on a pair of socks, given that it's the start of the month. But I have got a pair of socks on the go, but they are a crochet pair of socks, and I'm not entirely sure how well they're going to work out fully. So this is the right way around. There we go. And I mean, they seem huge, right? Crochet has very limited sort of, if I spoiler you and show you that, that's got a lot of widthways sort of stretch. This, not so much. Very sort of limited. So I have to embrace the fact that I do have fat calves and ankles, and do it at a sort of a wider sort of a size, because normally I figure if they're good for wristers then they'll stretch for but you know, I can get them sort of most of the way up without much of a stretch on the fabric. But I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work out with these. The patterning is the pattern is called Twirl Socks. I don't know whether you can see very well when I hold it double. That's better. There's a line of eyelets around the top, which is used for ribbon, which I'm not going to do. And then there's holes running just sort of diagonally. There we go. Just sort of running diagonally down the sock. So I only started these yesterday, and I worked on them sort of wrong hook. I worked on them in the sort of the 10-minute breaks. I sort of took a 20-minute 20 minutes cleaning, 10 minutes break sort of a pattern. The yarn I'm using, the pattern for this was 12 Socks by Vicky Brown, and it's on sale at the moment for £1.50, I think. So it's reduced, but it reduces at the checkout, so you actually have to say buy, and then it will go, oh look, I'm cheap. So, or cheaper. And I don't think it's a bad pattern either, really. At £3, it's a really reasonable sort of pattern if you want to crochet socks. There's 3 sizes in there. I'm doing the largest one because, as I mentioned, fat carbs apparently. The yarn I'm using is this one, which is a hand-dyed yarn by Miju Wools. This is something I got actually as a leaving present back when I left in back when I left 3.5 years ago now, so it's been in the stash a while. So it's Summer Meadow is the colourway that they named. So it's not the current owners, it was previous owners that dyed this for me. And I'm using a bog standard. That might be why I'm not getting gauge. That's a 2.5mm hook, and it says a 3. I was convinced that was a 3. So this might end up getting ripped out. Who knows? I have got a solid pink that I think the design might actually show up better in. So we shall see. But yeah, I might have much more luck getting over my ankles if I actually switch to a 3. Or I might carry on and see. It fits. It fits so far. It'll do. Maybe. I don't know. No better than finding out your cock-ups live on a webcam, is there? And I don't edit, you see. Some of these people, they do edit their podcasts, and they'll jump around and they'll be like, oh yes, so I'm going to pause now and then come back and show you this. And I just can't be arsed. I like talking to you guys. I like showing you stuff. I like sort of the interactions I get through this, but I don't like the editing. So you'll have to embrace me as I am. And I think, again, tangenty, sorry, 20 minutes and I've not even got to stash yet. So while I'm getting the next thing out, which that's it, by the way, for this section. So while I'm putting these socks on the blocker, I was saying to Reese, my husband, and we were talking about sort of podcasters and stuff, and how sort of a lot of them are very sort of similar, and a lot of them, but every so often you'll get the one who's sort of a little bit crazy and a little bit mental, and I really like those sort of podcasts. I love all of the ones I watch, but I like the ones where people are sort of unashamedly them, whether you're quiet and unashamedly you, or whether you're loud and a little bit sort of messing things up and unashamedly you. I don't mind, I like either, but you know, I think that's one of the things with this podcast. I'm never gonna be somebody who I'm not. I'm always gonna be cocking stuff up and saying wrong things, and you know, that's me in life as well. I speak sometimes and think later. And you know, I think if you're watching me and you like my podcast, you're gonna have to accept me, warts and all, and occasional swearing, because the quiet demure, oh look at this little lovely thing I crocheted, rather than wow, look at this, isn't this amazing? You know, the first one's not me. Anyway, rambly. FO Frenzy. I've only got one thing to show you guys this week. I've got my show notes on this side of the screen, so if you see me eyes darting, trying to do show notes. I not got comprehensive show notes yet, because Ooh Shiny, which is my purchases section, just reads all of the things. So we'll get to that when we get to that, I suppose. Right, you can go on the floor. So, finished a pair of socks. 2, look, there is 2. That's good, you can see the patterning on those. Sorry, the glare's coming in a bit from the window. It's been rainy all day and now it's sunny, so you can see everything. So this is the Swirl E-Sock, which is by Susie White, and it's a very good pattern. I think it's a free pattern, which is good. It's a really simple one as well. It's an 8-stitch repeat, and you can tell where you are by looking at your purl bumps. If you can read your knitting, you can knit this pattern. I didn't continue it down onto the toe, because who's got time for that? Sorry if I just jostled you there. I did my normal sort of a start with 20 rows of rib, and I don't think I even read what was in the pattern, and I did a heel flap and gusset, because I haven't done one of those for ages, and I really fancied a heel flap and gusset, just because. So the yarn is Starcraft Avamore, which is discontinued, sorry, and the colourway is 1618 green grey. So as you can see, it goes sort of a green, light green, dark green, light green, medium green, dark green. So green, light, grey, dark, grey, all this about not editing. It goes from green to light grey, medium grey, dark grey. We go, words. So I did a standard toe as well. So these are a little bit longer actually than I'm used to. I didn't end up with a lot of yarn left from these, about what was it? It wasn't a huge amount, it was about sort of, was it 20 grams? I used 79, so 89, 99, about 21 grams left, which isn't a lot for me. So they're a bit longer in the leg than normal, but I just got a bit carried away. But I really like them. They haven't been worn yet. I waited until I could podcast and show you guys them first. So that's it for FO Frenzy. Frenzy of one again this week. Frenzies of one are never particularly good, are they? Right. I haven't done any spinning. I've potentially got some spinning coming up, because I'm thinking I knew where it was, but I rediscovered my Wildcraft spindle after sort of seeing them at Wonderwool and remembering, oh, I really like my spindle. Why am I not using it? And I did get some little samplers at the show, rather than just using that was the fluff that came sort of with it, which I might finish off. So that was my Wildcraft spindle with it's got the fern in it. It's an imperfect one. So she said there's a slight wobble when it spins, but I can't tell. That was a slow spin anyway, but if you spin it properly, that was much better. I can't tell. It appears perfectly sort of balanced to me anyway. So I'm figuring I've only got a little bit of fibre left. I may as well use that up first, and then I might use it to sort of put it back in its wrapping. Then I may add the little samples of fibre on there, rather than break out the wheel for the little 10-gram bumps. One of my goals says mystery fibre, so who knows what it is. It feels quite soft. Not sure whether it's natural or fake, but one of my goals this month is to spin something. So yeah. So my first acquisition is this, which is a new yarn swift. My yarn swift broke on the Thursday night before I was headed to Wonderwool. So this one was a cheap one. It was £15. So it's plastic and metal. There's a little toggle just there, which you clip, which you squeeze and push and poke yourself in the face. It's even got a handle on the top so that you can twirl it around sort of properly, which is quite ingenious. So, and then the clamp, that bit even moves up or down depending on how much sort of space you've got, and clamps in, and then there's a clamp device there in order to clamp it to your table. So I haven't actually used this as of yet, because I haven't had anything that requires scanning. All of the stuff I've got, which is all of the stuff I've been working on, is come in balls. Hanks, I suppose. Not Hanks, balls. Did you see on the again, Tangent Queen today, on the Starcraft Facebook page, there was discussion about what do we call, that they would call sort of this, which isn't a purchase but is probably going to be a next cast on. That would be a skein. That would be a skein of yarn, because it comes prepared to pull out of the middle. And then the loops of yarn, spoiler, the loops of yarn like this would be called a hank. But I know this is a skein more than as a hank, and a lot of the podcasters I watch refer to that as a skein as opposed to a hank. But anyway, right, so I am going to I've got a candle there which I meant to bring up a lamp to light, but given that my desk has got so much crap on it at the moment, it's probably not the world's worst idea that I didn't. Okay, right, so this is my having taken that out, this is my bag of purchases from Wonderwool. I've managed to squish and condense it all down into one bag, but not everything is together because we had a look at it in work, and by we I mean I took it in to show off, so I'm going to have a little just a little prod through now, because some of them obviously belong together and some of them, you know, I don't want to show you something from you know, sort of two different dyers and then from a dyer and then realise I'd bought more from them and have to go back. Right, okay, so there we go, you belong with this one. Oh, I can see now why people like Mina sort of cut and go back. I've got so much to show you. So first of all, boring things, or not boring things, but not yarny things. I bought a bottle of soak, and this is in the yuzu flavour. Scent? I assume it probably does taste like yuzu if you'd care to drink it, but maybe not the best sort of idea. So it's really, really nice. I can't remember if I took... Yes, I did. I took the top off to smell what it was like. But yes, always handy. So I know a lot of people who sort of talk about wool washes and why do I need them. and I mean, I do like soak. This is a no rinse wool wash. So what you do, you put a little bit in, you soak your hand wash, you don't have to rinse them. You can then take them out. I use this for all of my hand knits, apart from my socks, which I just wash in the washing machine anyway. So there's two different main types. There's soak, and then there's this one, which is U-Clan. This is a little sample bottle, this is a big bottle. I prefer soak. I've just had more experience with soak and it lasts for forever. I bought a bottle 2 years ago at Wonderwool. I'm just getting to the bottom of it. So that's that. That's a nice easy one out of the way. Okay, so straight in front of me I have there's a local dyer who's sort of near Cardiff, and this is what I bought from her. Now that's not conveying the gorgeousness, the complete and utter gorgeousness of this yarn. It is beautiful. There is all of the colours of the rainbow in there, and mostly a sort of a solid blue. So the dyer for that is Owl About Yarn, and she's from quite near to me. My friend Zoe, who was helping out at the stall, said I couldn't have any of the sparkle stuff because that was for her, but I stole it anyway. As in I paid for it anyway, obviously. Didn't just steal it. So this is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. 100 grams, 400 metres, 437 yards, cool wash, dry flat, owlaboutyarn.etsy.com, and the colourway for this one is Aberavon Harbour, and I got 2 of those because I'd like to try to make them into a Waiting for Rain. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work with regards to the lace portions because it is a variegated yarn. But I'm thinking I do have some other sock yarn in that is in a sort of a dark blue. So that could be the heavy rain clouds, and this could be the garter stitch squishy bits after the rain. Because let's face it, if there's leftovers, I'm more than happy to have a pair of socks out of this anyway. So yeah, it's lovely. The colours are just so bright you can't see the sparkle. Stellina has a horrible problem showing up sometimes, I think. But it's sort of a very subtle shimmer anyway. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Do a Mina face with the yarn. So also from Jenny, which is the lady who dyes this yarn. Also from her, I'm going to have to create a pile on the floor now. Also from her, I bought this bag, which is the Doctor Who's. So it's got all of the Doctors on it, because that's the new one. What's his face? Him. Yeah. Paul McGann. There's John Hurt's Doctor. There's Tennant's 10. Matt Smith is somewhere abouts. Oh, Matt Smith is there. On that side, as well as the TARDIS, and you get the tiny bit of the Tom Baker with the scarf next to Eccles and him. I used to know them all off by heart, but the ribbon as well is TARDIS ribbon, and there's her little tag on there. It's a lovely sized bag actually, because it's got a nice big. So it's got a sort of a big bottom, and it stands, which you can't see very well, but it stands really, really well. And you also could do the thing that a lot of people do, where they sort of cuff the top. So the lining fabric is pale cream, which is really nice as well. Creates sort of a nice contrast. So, and then you can have it as sort of as a more of a yarn bucket. So, yeah. Right, so that was my big excitement. Big excitement of the day sounds wrong because I bought a lot of things that I love. I don't know whether I'd fully got into yarn frenzy then yet, but yeah. I didn't buy a lot of equipment. I did think I'd maybe try and buy some Chagoo needles, and I didn't get any. But I did get this higher needle, and it is this. It is tiny. This is one of the things I did actually buy before lunch. but there is a sock needle. It's a 2.25, which I'm fast discovering. I think I prefer my socks knitted on 2.25s rather than 2.5s. And it's 9 inches, 23 centimetres long. So I'm thinking that the bag I've jettisoned somewhere with the Doctor Who yarn I showed you when I was talking about Ball and Hank and Skein, I'm going to do these in Jenny's bag on these. So it's going to be interesting learning how to knit with these, because she says you've got to sort of try it for 20 minutes because it may give your hand sort of cramp, and I can imagine it would cramp this hand, my sort of my non-knitting hand. Everything's backwards, so not the hand I have the yarn in to throw English. I can imagine that it would cramp this hand, the holding hand, more, which crochet also does for me. But I wanted to give it a try. A lot of people say that you have to have another set of needles in order to do these socks, so you might find it easier casting on and doing the rib in on a longer needle, and that you'll have to take it off to do the heel, and that you'll have to take it off to do the toe decreases. Now, I'm wondering if I can get around that. So my thoughts, which you obviously are all incredibly interested to know, is that I'm going to do a short row toe. So I'm going to start off with waste yarn. It's quite live. I'm going to start off with waste yarn, and then knit the toe cup, and then pick up the stitches that are on the waste yarn and start knitting in the round. When I get to my heel, my fish lips kiss heel, that's not going to be a problem on these tiny needles, because you're only working on half the stitches. You don't have to pick up stitches or anything like that, and then it will just be straight up and on to the cuff, which will be fine again. So I'm thinking I'm going to do the first one. No, stripes will be in the other order, won't they? I was going to say I'll do the first one toe up and the second one top down, because there always seems to be this thought, especially when you're doing socks from the top down, that once you get to your toe you'll just decrease on one side, whereas theoretically you can do a short row toe, but then you'll have more stitches to graft along the top, which I don't mind grafting. But anyway, I'll let you know, because obviously I'm really sort of interested by this and puzzled by this at the moment, aren't I? Oh, I'm so tired from tidying yesterday. It was a full day's worth of tidying, so I think I've sort of lost a little bit of my marbles today. Anyway, moving on. So the next one is my funny purchase of the show. In the caravan we were talking about how certain Stephen West patterns are either you love it or you hate it, and Angie was going on about that she disliked the doodler. She couldn't see it, how it worked. Well, I mean, she couldn't see how it was a sort of an attractive garment, how it worked for most people, and I had the doodler on my list to do. I've had the doodler on my list for a while, but I wanted to find the right yarns. So the lady, I was immediately drawn, actually. We had a bit of a revelation with regards to colour and things at the show, and by we I literally mean me and possibly the mouse in my pocket, but I was immediately drawn towards this, which is not my normal colours. So this is Truly Hooked. So this one is Superwash Merino Donegal Nep, and they're noisy because they don't list the percentages of, I mean, I imagine it's like 95% Superwash Merino and like 5% Nep, but I was immediately drawn to that, which is not my colours at all. The brightness probably is. And I thought, oh, I know, I'll use that for a doodler. So this is going to be my main colour for my doodler. And then I picked up this, which very much is my colour. And then this is Superwash Merino Nylon Cashmere. Very into the cashmere, apparently, as you'll find out, which I didn't realise because I was just picking things up that I liked. Because again, I had the money to this year. So this is sock weight, 400 metres to 100 grams, turquoise this colour. That colourway was Kunra, I think, Kurtra. There seemed to be the trend for writing things on in pencil this year, which I get because pencils don't run out as much as pens, but can't read them. So yeah, so I liked those two together. And then we needed the third colour. So we needed normally when I choose colours, I try and choose things that are harmonious, but the lady said that the best one she's seen with the doodler were 3 colours that didn't clash. Clash is a very strong word, but were very contrasty towards each other. So for the third one, I picked up this. That is more or less as bright as it is in real life. There we go. That's really bright. And again, this is the Superwash Merino nylon cashmere. So that's the same base as this blue. I love those two together. I am not a pink person, though I bought another pink. So I'm just going to stop saying things, I think, in order to stop contradicting myself. But I really liked the 3 of those together. So that's going to be the main colour. That is going to be the accent colour at the bottom, because as much as I love bright pink, I do not think it loves me, not that near to my face, whereas the blue is a much better choice next to my face. So that's going to be the cable along the top, the main bit, and then the accent bit in there, and then that's going to be the bottom one. I like it. I think the jury is out amongst the friends of the sorry, I need to get to my drink. I think the jury is out amongst the friends as to how well what it'll look like when it's done, but we'll see. I've got to download the doodler first and get some stuff off my needles. Right. So those are all Truly Hooked, which is a Nottinghamshire dye. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. They had a doodler up on the stall as well, which was helpful for like sort of going, I want this here and that there. Awesome, really helpful as well. I'm going to have a mountain of yarn down by the feet of me by the time I finish. So we'll go for a departure from Hannah's normal colour palette now. And that's this, which is watercolours and lace. And that's showing us more of a brown, but it's a very sort of a pinky sort of a, I suppose it is sort of a brown. So this is watercolours and lace, Falklands Merino lace, 100% Falklands Merino wool, about 800 metres per 100 grams, and the colourway is Precious Metals. And this is the bit I always love about theirs. NB, please wind yarn into a ball before use. I did ask her, are people trying to knit with it straight from the skein? Oh yeah, well, you'd be surprised. Okay. So I've loved her stuff. We've seen her for the last couple of years, and I've seen her at Bristol, but I've never had, she seems to sell a lot of lace weight and a lot of non-sock 4-ply, I think. So I really sort of struggled to find something that was on my list that would go, and it's a lot of sort of pale or subdued colours, which I've got a couple of shawls in my list that use lace weight. There's 2, and I bought 2 skeins of lace weight, so 1 for each, that require something without dramatic colour changes. So I'm hoping that those are going to be used for these. So I really like that. It's not my normal colours, but it's lovely, and it's super soft as well because of the Falklands Merino. So yeah. So that's that, which is another sort of a departure for me. So right, who else have I got? Let's see, it's a bit of a big bag actually. So I bought, when I went to Bristol, I did buy some yarn. Let's just tip the bag out, it'll be easier, won't it? I bought some yarn from Wonderwool, which I still haven't used yet. Bearing in mind, but I needed some, and I thought I was getting double knit, but I wasn't, but it's fine. It's quite a plump 4-ply, so maybe I'll try and use it for the same pattern anyway and see how I go. But I wanted something in a sort of a bright, crazy, variegated yarn. So that's this. This is a one-of-a-kind colourway. So 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. Again, see, cashmere. I have expensive tastes apparently at the moment. 400 metres to 100 grams, so hand wash, dry flat, some colour bleeding may occur. But isn't that just a brilliant sort of a riot of colour? I really like that. So it came home with me. This was the end of the day, and I was just sort of, I wanted to go and sort of see and buy something from them. So that I bought. And I also picked up this because I couldn't leave it behind because it was lovely. So it's just a little bit of pink and a little bit of grey at the bottom, and then grey and pink at the top. So this colourway is Dolly. And I thought this was going to be socks, but 80% merino, 20% silk. So it is a high twist sock yarn. So theoretically it probably could be socks because silk can take the place of nylon. Theoretically, silk can take the place of nylon. I'm not entirely sure if I'd want to sacrifice something so beautiful to the gods of washing by machine. And I'm not hand washing socks because, I mean, you know, no. Ain't nobody got time for that, really. This is Unbelievable. So I think this might become a very nice little shawlette sort of a thing. Again, you know, 365 meters to 100 grams. So it's, you know, I only really bought 2 things that weren't on my list, that didn't have plans for them. One of which will definitely become a pair of socks, and the other one is this. So I'm allowed. Oh, and that other one. So 3 things. But you know, I'm allowed a bit. So Easy Knits as well. Went to Easy Knits, showed them my shawl that I completed last year, which was my sort of my pink topaz shawl, which was the sort of the purple, the spellcaster, which was the purple, yellow variegated, and then the plain purple border. And they were all very impressed. So, and oh, of course, I had to buy something else from them. So this again is really not my normal colour choices. The colourway is it's on the Dusted Dreams base. There we go. And the colourway is Firestorm. So this is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, which will be socks, of course. It will be socks because that's easy. 4-ply fingering weight, 100 grams, 425 meters. So I really liked the that sort of the orange, but the black as well. That black really sort of spoke to me. I really liked it. So I bought it, which appears to be the sort of the tale for the vast majority of things that we got this time round, that I got this time round. So after lunch, this is all not in a specific order anyway. After lunch, we were in Hall 3, which is where Bar I Mew are located, and they're from Leeds, and I loved this shawl. Absolutely loved this shawl. So they were selling the kit for the shawl and the yarn, and I got a bag as well. And I can't remember how much it was. I think I paid like $150 more than the advertised price, but I did get a tote bag, and the listing didn't say about a tote bag, so I was totally cool with that, because tote bags, of course. So this is Pond Street by Alison Morton, and it's meant to look like the roofs of Sheffield Station, and it's got that one. It's got like a sort of a waterfall thing outside, so it's meant to look like that as well. I don't know, I don't think I've ever been outside of Sheffield Station. I've been through Sheffield Station numerous times because the line my parents live, well, the station closest to my parents, the end of the line is Sheffield, so it goes from near my parents' house in Lincolnshire, it goes all the way up and through, well, not near my parents' house, but the next big town over, it goes through there all the way up through Manchester, and then the end is Sheffield. So where it's the dark blue on the pattern, that's going to be my colour, which is Titus. This is all knit out of Bar I Mew Titus, which is 70% British wool, 30% UK alpaca, and the wool, sorry, confused me a second there, because it says the wool, so the wool is a blend of 50% Wensleydale long wool, 20% Blueface Leicester, and 30, and then you've got your 30% UK alpaca, 100% British, and spun in Yorkshire. So yes, this is Bramley Bath's colour, and then I'm not sure which way around I'm going to do it, but the blue and the pink I picked up, the red, which I think is, hang on, I'm gonna have to go, this is why show notes, like proper show notes rather than just all of the things, would probably be a little bit helpful. So sort by weight, sort by date added. I think it's Tiffin, possibly. Looks a sort of a Tiffany colour, doesn't it? Oops, sorry if you're wobbling. Parkin. I knew it was a cake. Parkin, and then the cream is white rose, which is the Yorkshire rose. The Yorkshire rose is white, isn't it? Is it the Lancashire? Yeah, one of the roses is white anyway. So those two, I liked the way those two sort of played with that. We are getting towards the end, I promise. I know it's 50 minutes in now. We went to Midwinter Yarns, and I really like their stuff, and they're lovely, and they're also local because they live sort of Caerphilly way. So I've really liked watching the Linuses come along on Instagram. The Linus is sort of their standard pattern, and it's lovely. So that's just showing you the picture. That's in 2 sort of dark gradients. And it only takes 2 skeins of the All Centrum, which is a 2-ply fingering weight gradient wool. So which is quite cool, they produce their yarns based on length rather than weight, meaning that the indicated hank weight can fluctuate from 90 to 110 grams, but it will always contain the same 300 metres of yarn. This is due to the density of the fleeces they use, which varies from sheep to sheep and farm to farm, which I thought was pretty cool. So I really liked that. And then that's sort of another picture. They obviously use 2 sort of dark gradients there. Now I chose this one, which is Sky Turquoise, and to go with it I chose this one, which is Sky Pink. So I really liked the sort of the contrast of the pinks. That's a better thing on the pinks, and that's better really, full stop. So I really liked the sort of the contrast of the 2 colours together in order to you know, I don't know, I just liked the 2 of them together. So Mark, I think it is, Mr. Midwinter, was like, oh well, you might get sections where it's grey and then grey. Yeah, no, it's fine, it will knit, and if I don't like it I can always take it back out and re-knit them into something else. So I bought those, and I bought the Linus on the line, Linus on the line pattern. So I'm really looking forward to starting those as well. I'm looking forward to starting everything I bought, which is possibly a bit of an issue. And then the last, 2 more. This I really liked. I bought it from the same people I bought the soak from, which was, no, it's gone. But they are the only supplier of this in the UK, so it'll be fairly easy to find. The colour, the yarn is Indigo Dragonfly, and it's a Canadian dyer. But not my side of Canada that I went to, the other side of Canada that I went to. And I bought this primarily because it's called Captain Tight Pants. I also love, it's a very interesting brown. Brown is not my normal sort of colour at all, but it's a very sort of a subtle brown with sort of hints of purple and all sorts in it. So yeah, Captain Tight Pants is a Firefly reference, which I have seen, but I haven't seen in ages, so I may have to rewatch it while I knit. This, so this is Caribou Bar, which is 100% superwash merino, 4-ply, 398 metres, 435 yards to 100 grams, made in Canada. So I really like. She also does a lot of Buffy references, and Buffy is on my list to watch. I've seen episodes of, because my sister loved Buffy, but not tons, never all the way through. So I'm thinking I may have to buy some Buffy yarn to knit whilst watching Buffy, because obviously after showing you this giant pile of yarn, what I really need is more. So this was my this is my last purchase I have to show you, and this is incredibly soft. And again, this is cashmere, 65% alpaca, 20% silk, 10% cashmere, 5% stellina, 800 metres, 870 yards per 100 grams. So this is Dye Ninja, and I hadn't heard of her before the Edinburgh Wool Festival. when some of my one of my Facebook friends went and bought some yarn called Nanny Ogg's Bloomers. So Sheila, who is the dyer, does Discworld colours, which immediately Nanny Ogg's Mrs. Ogg's Bloomers, I think, is a bright red, so I want a skein of that as well, but really want a skein of that as well, but I couldn't think, red is not a colour for me to wear, and I don't know whether she had it on the sock base, but this I fell in love with. This colourway is Sam Vimes, and it's on her Twinkle Lace base, and I love the colourway, but it also made me sort of giggle, because if you're a Discworld fan, I'm not entirely sure how pleased Sam Vimes would be to sparkle. But sparkly Sam Vimes is, you know, it made me laugh anyway. And this is actually, Vimes is one of my dad's favourite characters, so she does do this on a sock weight, on a sock base as well. So I'm thinking I maybe need to invest in this, because my dad would like the colours. So I'm hoping if they come down at the end of May, which I'm hoping they will do, that they will, I can show him this and that he'll like it, and that I can say, well, would you like a pair of socks out of it for Christmas? And I can knit him a pair of socks. Because, yeah, but this is my other lace weight, so this is going to be that other lace weight shawl. Okay, right, that's it for Wonderwool at 56 minutes. I may have another purchase to show you in a few weeks, because I've just bought a rigid heddle loom. So I was looking at rigid heddle looms for weaving at Wonderwool, and I decided not to. I had a look on, I've been keeping an eye on Gumtree and Facebook selling sites and eBay and stuff like that. And then Reese's cousin posted something on a website called Spock, which you've probably seen advertised on the TV if you're in Britain, and it's annoying as hell, because it's like, oh, just Spock it. I know, right? But I had a look on for rigid heddle looms, thinking, well, maybe. And this guy had posted a 16-inch Ashford rigid heddle loom, which it wasn't the brand I wanted. I want a Kromsky, and I want a larger loom. I want a 32. But for 50 quid he wanted for it. So I offered him 45 and he accepted, and he's half an hour away from my parents, so they're going to go pick that up for me hopefully tomorrow, which I did clear with them before I bought. I feel the need to say, I didn't just say, hey, go to Horncastle and give this bloke £45 and get a loom in exchange. So it looks to be all there from the box. It looks to be boxed with instructions and the DVD as well, so that's always helpful. So I mean, I did check on the website. Wingham Woolworks are selling that one at the moment for £128 with tax included. So for £45, I think I got a bit of a bargain there, and it's a way for me to experience weaving and to see whether I like it before I commit to anything bigger. If I want to weave blankets, I would potentially have to go bigger. I mean, I can always sew. I mean, you know, it was the 32 I wanted in the end. So I'd have to sew 2 16s together in order to get the same width as the 32. So it depends what I want to weave. If you want to weave garments, the width is more, the width is better, but if I want to weave blankets, am I adverse to seaming together 2 strips? Which I have a sewing machine, so wouldn't be, at the end of the day, wouldn't be the worst sort of thing in the world, would it? So we also went to the flock gathering, and so I might have to show you these bits sort of more as I use them. But we got some lovely little bits of fibre, and I ended up, Sarah's Texture Crafts, I ended up sort of really sort of, that's another Ashford one, I ended up sort of really winning at this, because my fellow campers are not spinners. So I ended up winning really with regards to that. Some cute little cards, and some discount codes and all sorts of things as well. Yeah, there's a coupon for Owl About Yarn, which is valid till the end of May when you enter the code Wonderwool16 at the checkout, but you've got to spend over £30, which wouldn't be hard because her stuff is gorgeous. You know, we had buttons and all sorts of things, too much really to sort of show you guys, but I'm thinking I may break out the, that's why the drop spindle, because these tiny bumps of fibre would take you about 30 seconds to spin on the wheel. We got some interesting sort of magazines. The Wheel, which was Ashford's, which is issue 27, which doesn't help, but it's 2015. So stuff like that's going to be interesting to sort of have a bit of a flick through. And then you got it in a Wonderwool Wales tote bag, which was practically worth your entry anyway. So we're selling these for 4, and I think the entrance to the flock gathering was 7. So yeah, I'll show you bits more with that as I sort of go through them. Now, this bag looks big, but there's only a couple of bits to show you. Somebody Reese worked with is pregnant and expecting her first baby, which is a little girl, at the start of August. So I said, do you want me to make her a blanket? And he said yes. So I went and I hit the Starcraft stand, which we now have. I say now have, we might have had for a while, but I've never been, because the market is quite inaccessible. Not inaccessible, but it's the other end of town from most of the things, and it shuts early. It shuts about 4:30, which just isn't. But we had an early day. We had a half day on Friday because I needed to go pay a check-in, so we went there. So I managed to get food we wanted to go to, which was then closed, but was up by the market, so that worked. So this is the base colour, which is this is Starcraft Special DK. The colourway is 1005, which is cream. And then the colours to go into the blanket, which I'm going to use, I think it's Cedar Pines, which is the one for, which is one of the Deramores. Knit along, crochet alongs, it's crocheted. So that's 1080 Pale Rose. 1422 Aspen. It's very big into the greens apparently, the mum. 1065 Meadow, so I thought I'll throw a green in there. And then my favourite, I think, 1724 Prama Violet. So hard, but I really like the combination of them all sort of together. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it. I know the green is going to be the least used of all of the colours, because I don't think it goes as well. I would have loved to have had the pistachio, but they didn't have that in stock. And that's the other thing about Starcraft, is at the end of the day, it's £2 a ball. That's a ridiculous price, really, isn't it? So the entire blanket, because I had to get 3 balls of the cream, I think the entire blanket ended up running the cost of about £14. So you can't beat that, can you, really? And I did support a local yarn shop, because it's the market stall, but they're moving into a proper premises. And then that premises is going to be open later, because the walkthrough to the shops is open later, I think. I don't know how far down it's open later though, because you can get to the car park above it, but you have to go through the shops, I think. So I don't know, but yeah, because they said, oh, we do knit and natters and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, but you do them when I'm in work. I love my knit and natters, but not enough to lose, several hours worth of flexi time a week over. So, I don't know, maybe they'll start doing ones in the evening, because I said, do you know of any in the evenings? And she said no, so I might just have to continue to podcast. I know there's one in Cardiff, I do, but it's a way away. It's quite a long way to go and come back every week. So I just haven't been yet. But who knows, maybe one day soon in the future. So, now I have an extraordinary amount of yarn. Hopefully my purchases are going to slow down a bit. I may have to take advantage of the voucher for Jenny, but I can buy bags. Reese's sister would love a bag, maybe not a Doctor Who one, but we'll see. We'll see, and if I don't spend it, I know I'll spend money with her in the future, regardless of discount or not discount, because it's lovely. So hopefully this rigid head will loom or mean I'm going to be weaving up all of the things. Sort of either scrap blankets or because I've got so much DK weight, which I should be able to use with the heddle that comes with the loom. But anyway, I am now blathering more than I've blathered for the last hour and 5 minutes. So I'm going to leave you all alone now, and hope that you might all want to go and have a nice sort of cup of tea after I've just ranted at you for over an hour. So thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you for coming back if you're a returning viewer. I probably should have said that at the start. If you've stuck with me this long, you deserve a bit of a medal and a nice cup of tea or a glass of something stronger if you wish. So I hope you have a lovely time knitting, crafting, sewing, weaving, doing whatever you like for the next 2 weeks, and I'll see you back. I'll see you back in 2 weeks' time, which is the 21st. Have a lovely time. See you soon. Bye.